So I know you come with a lot of experience. But Honorable Nominee, I'd like to just indicate that your answers here carry a lot of weight. The investor community, both local and international, are watching and listening to every statement that you make here today. So I just want to, I know that you'll be mindful. Of course, there's no pressure. My first question, Mr. Chairman.
Well, honorable members, when you are asked to ask a question, proceed to ask the question and let's limit the commentaries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Wait.
I just wanted to congratulate.
Wait. Please put off your mind. Chairman, with the greatest respect. Chairman, it's not just a guide. The member is a new member. We have all practiced at the bar. We know what some of these things do to a person on his or her feet. I beg of you one more time. We are here to cooperate with you. Let's be tolerant. You've been in the minority before. You know what it is. Because this vetting, although it is majority, minority, you know that the work itself is being done by the minority. So please allow members to flow. I beg of you. I want us to have a very decent engagement and be stable in all we're doing. I'm begging you.
Patrick Bama.
Chairman, thank you very much. I think the finance minister's position, like Honorable Koko rightly said, is very, very important. We know what the leader is made of. But sometimes some foundations ought to be laid to guide the nominee in his answers. Because she said the investor community, both locally and internationally, will be watching and listening. And these are very important partners in our growth program. So if she's going to ask a question that the investor community will be interested in, please, she ought to be given the opportunity to lay some foundation to the question. It doesn't hurt anybody. Thank you.
Chairman, I just want to appeal to all colleagues, especially the respected minority leader. I have been around this table and I saw when Honorable Ato Forson was the ranking and Honorable Joe Wise was the chair. What I saw was I didn't see Honorable Ato Forson trying to be co-chair. At the moment, so far, people watching might think you are a co-chair. So I'm just appealing to you. Your role in this is very important. Without a doubt, it's very important. So for the viewing public, we'll just plead that the two of you should manage such that the interaction between the two of you does not appear as if there's a struggle for power. So I don't have much to say that we have started well, but if possible, let there be one chair which we all defer to, and then we can make progress. So we will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All members, we had a preliminary meeting and we agreed on the roadmap. Therefore, I will not be happy where the committee will resume work and will be denigrating. So, honourable members, ask a question. Please, proceed to ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
As I've taken, I notified you. Chairman,
the ranking cannot interject anytime you speak. It's completely out of order. You cannot interject anytime the chairman speaks. You are not the chairman of this committee.
Chairman, thank you very much. I tapped you for your leave, and I didn't just get up to make an input. Chairman, also with the greatest respect to you, in all humility, please, this situation where you are more or less directing the member, please, I will not co-chair with you. I know my position. I'm the ranking. Would appreciate. so that the nominee himself will also appreciate the question. So I am pleading with you. I will not co-chair with you. I have cooperated with you thus far. I will not stand in your way. We are in this together. But utmost respect to you. Please. Thank you very much.
Please proceed to ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, you're on record. Additional financing from the IMF. What proposal do you intend to present to the IMF?
I did not say I am going to request for additional financing from the IMF. Inaccurate. What I said was we could request for additional finances if the need arises. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question.
My second question is one of the major sources of revenue to fund development. As a matter of fact, one of the conditions of the IMF, the current arrangement with the IMF, is to enhance promised Ghanaians to scrap a number of taxes. So how do you intend?
Nominee, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And Mr. Chairman, let me say it's an excellent question. Mr. Chairman, Ghana currently collects approximately 13.8% of GDP in terms of tax revenue. According to that, we can do out mention a word, access, before you rake in revenue. We have the handles. What we need to do is to improve compliance. I will work with the JRA, the tax policy unit of the Ministry of Finance, to ensure that in the medium term, it is my vision, when approved, to increase the revenue from 13.8, tax revenue from 13.8% of GDP. Potentials are out there. It does that we are going to scrap certain tax. And what it should. For example, scrapping 15 million Ghana cedis will not mean anything in a way that will affect the imposition of such a tax. And so I believe that scrapping such a tax will not necessarily affect the forward march of the Ghanaian economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your last question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Historically, the private sector still complain of differently. What are you going to do differently to ensure the private sector? Thank you.
I said this because if the country look at the T-bill market today, every single week we roll over 111 billion Ghana cedis. And if you were to roll over 111 billion Ghana, that interest rates sometimes immediately work to bring inflation down. And then also working in such a way that we can stabilize inflation, stabilize the exchange rate, and create jobs. Until we do such a thing, certainly the concerns you've raised will still be there, and the waste. And if you cut the waste, certainly you'll be able to, you will not be able to, you will certainly go to the market in a careful way, that you will not be borrowing as much as you are, in a way that interest rate will.
One follow-up question.
You said in a response to our respected colleague's question about tax revenue that
that did not say that.
I just want you to clarify the point then.
I said we do not necessarily have.
How do you juxtapose that within the context of your previous position, policy by the previous government, where the whole intent was to free? You held a position strongly against that incentive, that taxes be necessarily imposed that are imported for manufacturing in the country and all others. How do you juxtapose that?
Mr. Chairman, my guy is on point of order.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, the nominee did not say that taxes should not be imposed on raw materials. The issue was whether or not taxes already imposed should be received or exempted by this House. So let's communicate accurately.
Thank you very much, sir. Well known. I do not intend to hide from that, and I won't hide from that. Mr. Chairman, tax exemption is gradually becoming a major source of tax expenditure in our fiscal framework. Unfortunately, it's not properly targeted, and so you see a situation where we exempt huge volumes of our taxes to particular companies. At the same time, because we are exempting those taxes, we end up increasing these tax rates for so many other people to pay. I believe everyone else must be given the opportunity to pay taxes. My concern, particularly with the one that you are making, I do not believe that certain individuals must be privileged enough to get tax exemptions, whilst others doing the same should not be given the opportunity to. Exemption for 1D, 1F. They should put main concern, particularly my criticism against the 1D, 1F, has to do with the opaque manner that it has been done in the past. And I still stand by that. If the government, or if this current government still believes that tax exemption in the law, let everyone benefit from it. But don't pick and choose and decide who should benefit from such a tax exemption. I think it's wrong, and taxation must be fair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your last follow-up question.
Chairman, thank you. Leader, I'm making this point as a result of what you just said. But for the records, and Honorable Yabuama is here, he chaired the committee. You may recall that as a result of those concerns, government at the time was able to meet those concerns to the extent that there was even a waiver on one item, raw materials, of the whole exemption. And would you say that it was purely political because those concerns were addressed? But you say
when these taxes were introduced, tax exemptions were introduced to us in this house, initially we were called upon to exempt approximately $458 million. Upon my insistence, the Minister of Finance went back to working together with the Minister for Trade and brought it down to about $100 million, $400 million. About 358, there was the need for us to do more. And that $100 million, I could still see things that I disagree. And so, Mr. Chairman, I have no regrets, and I think I have to grant some of those, not champion this alone. Let me also use this platform to pay tribute to Honorable Kweku Kwati. Honorable Kweku Kwati was instrumental. If we can save $558 million, look at Accra Kumasi Road. We could use that money to fix the Accra Kumasi Road. I think it wasn't necessary for us to approve that tax and those concerns. It's not personal, it's not political, but we did it with the right intention, obviously for God and country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's now the turn of Honorable Foku Junubua.
Honorable Castle Ato Forson, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Being nominated as Minister Designate for Finance. Can you tell us how you are going to fund the government machinery, given that now there is no appetite for lenders to give money on long term, and the money market segment, government machinery. Lenders are not ready to give long term. The money market end is already crowded. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, in the short term, we need to bring confidence. Immediately introduce a very strong budget, signaling that we are ready to do the heavy liftings. That first budget will indeed send the right signal that Ghana is ready to open our doors for investors to come into the country. I believe if we are to introduce inflation down to 8% plus or minus 2, in doing so, we'll be able to reopen the domestic bond market so that we can move away from the over-reliance of the treasury bill market. And so we'll be able to, and the Eurobond. And so, where you do not have financing, then there's the need for you to look within. Let's deal with expenditure. Well, we can also do it here. My proposal is, let's look at the expenditure side as well. It shouldn't always be borrowing and borrowing and borrowing to the waste, so that we live and stay within the envelope that we can. But when push comes to shove, obviously, we will work with our development partners, such as the Africa Development Bank, the World Bank, the European Union, and other bilateral agencies, including the IMF, to raise cheaper sources of financing to finance government expenditure, particularly where expenditures that can lead to proper growth and inclusive growth. Thank you.
Minister Designate. My second question, you've already given a hint on it, which relates to tax exemptions, or what I would expect you to tell this committee is that the Exemptions Act of 2022, Act 1083, allows the states to take, though the acts under your regime, you'll be both entities that come for tax exemptions. You'll be ready to go in for equity stake for this country. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Honorable Abena will bear me witness to set the tone and allow to implement the Tax Exemption Act, particularly the portion that allows government of Ghana to take equity stake. So we've done once. Someone who insists that tax exemption must also count, you can count on me that I will do whatever it takes, that when push comes to shove, that we have to grant tax exemption. The country must benefit. You can count on me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So everyone has heard and will be watching. My third question. You know, it is commonly known that we generate really nothing much from the year budget of 2024. If you look at page 107, you realize that tax from 113 billion cedis, period, just about 1.572 billion cedis. So this is a ratio of 13 to 1. So 13 times what we get from. What would you do practically to close this gap? A gap of 13 to 1. What would you do practically?
But this is a very valid question and very interesting one. I think that's a genuine concern. First, we need to formalize the informal sector. Second, we need to encourage them to formally register with the Revenue Authority. And third, we need to incentivize them. We can learn from Uganda. Uganda has been able to incentivize the informal sector. And as such, they are collecting more taxes from the Uganda date was to agree through tax education that a percentage of whatever you pay will be used as your pension contribution, even as the informal sector. And so my proposal is, why can't we scheme where you will plow back, let's say 30%. It doesn't mean quote me for 30%. Let's say 30% of your pension scheme, of which you benefit when you go on retirement. These are options. And we have to learn from best practices. Let's see what has been done elsewhere to formalize the informal sector and to incentivize them to pay. The options are there. I'm hoping for advice. I will listen, and I'm ready, as when approved as minister, to work with all of you to see what we can do to allow the informal.
Thank you very much. I will then move to the majority side, starting from Honorable Azikabendo.
Thank you very much, Chairman. But also to thank His Excellency for the privilege to bring a thoroughbred finance person from this house. When I was invited, I asked myself, what questions are there to ask Honorable Ato Forson? Because we have always been on this side All I can say here is
the
that
commentary and go straight to the
I
question.
believe that my colleagues are better placed because I know your quality and what you bring up.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Leader, congratulations. I've worked with you since 2013 to date, so I know what you stand for. And so, Mr. Country's fiscal challenges and ensure debt sustainability. Thank you very much.
Honorable nominee, your answer.
Mr. Chairman, Ghana's debt management in the past few years has been a major cause of concern. It is sad to know that the country has gone through a very difficult. We had to raise this. We intend to establish an independent debt management office. But in the meantime, February, about 6.8 billion Ghana cedis will be due for payment. It is our responsibility to make sure we pay. And the Ministry of Finance, I believe, at this time are preparing to make that payment. We'll work with the Ministry of Finance of the crisis we faced in 2022.
Any further question? Any further question? Any further question?